So welcome to the node.js Technical Steering Committee meeting for April 5th, 2022. We will follow the agenda, which was in the issue created in the repo. That issue is 1220 if you want to follow along. Before we get started, does anybody have any announcements they'd like to share? Okay, if not, on to the CPC and board meeting updates. Rich, anything on the CPC front you think should be shared?
I can't remember. There wasn't a meeting this week though. Trying to remember if anything happened last week. I should be more prepared for these things, but nothing urgent that I'm aware of. And if I think of something, I'll send an email to everybody.
Okay, sounds good. On the board front, same, nothing that I'm aware of that needs to be brought up there. So we'll move on to the issues in the agenda. So the first one is make it possible to use fetch with proxies and other agents. Number 42814. I'm just looking if anybody's been in the discussions, please jump in. I know Matteo had, some comments. He'd mentioned being here, but I think it is pretty late for him. So maybe we should defer that.
Wouldn't be able to make it.
Oh, he wouldn't be available? Okay. Maybe we should defer until next time then. Okay, if nobody objects, I'll just note that in. The next one is util add parsargs module. This is 42675. We did have a bit of a discussion on this last time, and I think the ask was for more TSC members to get involved. Ben did reach out to me today. It sounds like there's still a bit of like the disagreement hasn't been broken and either people haven't had time to engage. But, I think the question is kind of like, are we at the point where we should just have a vote? There's the two options, or if not, what is the concrete step we can take to help, move the discussion forward? I think really it comes down to it's like the processor util is the thing that the TSC could weigh in on and help unblock.
That seems like something that is straightforward enough that a vote would be effective and quick. And it seems like the people who want util and the people who want process have made their arguments. And I don't know if there's much more to be said at this point.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm landing as well. That that if we just have a vote that's quick, it shouldn't be, it's not like we can. It's the most effective way to close and a reasonable way to do it, given what's already been discussed.
And I know I at the risk of always leaning on the same person to do this, I notice Antoine is here, and Antoine has run effective votes in the past. So just pointing that out.
Yeah, okay, I can try to set that up.
Okay.
I think trying to get resolution by the next meeting a week from today is probably good if that works for everybody else.
Okay, so it sounds like one thing I can
short 1 week for
1 week is short, I think.
Yeah, last vote we was a bit in a rush because the 18 was about to be released and not everyone was able to vote in time.
Okay, I'm fine with more time as well. I know how I'll be voting, so.
So for the minutes, I think, my sense is I can write down, we had a discussion about whether we can do a vote. There were no objections. So, proposal is to move to a vote, right?
Yeah, I propose, sounds like you second.
Yep.
And as long as nobody else objects, I think that's what's going to happen.
Okay. So I'm going to,
Although we don't have a quorum today, do we? No, but that's all right.
I think if we just open an issue that says, the
Yeah,
plan is to do a
someone can
vote.
say, no, I don't want to, I don't think it's time to have a vote yet, but nobody's going to do
Right.
that. I think we're good.
Right. So I'll volunteer to open an issue to say plan is to do a vote, unless there are objections. And our goal would be like, Antoine, how, you probably need a little bit of time to set up the vote anyway, right? Like, what would that normally be? And we can just say, like, if we don't have objections by then, we'll go ahead with it.
I mean, it's quite straightforward. So as long as we are in agreement in what the candidates are,
Okay.
it's quite quick for me.
Okay. So why don't we just say we'll open the issue today and we'll kick off the vote on Friday and then close the vote. I think if we did then said we want to close the vote the next Friday, would that be unreasonable?
Or maybe the TSC meeting from like 2 weeks from now. I don't know, what is this?
So maybe it's kind of the goal would be to get it, because like Rich said, this is one where like it's probably not a ton of research. Maybe we could say like we'll close it in 2 weeks from now, but like the goal is to get everybody voted by the next meeting.
Yeah, that sounds good. It's good. If everyone has voted, you can close it right away.
Okay, so in that issue, which I'll open right after the meeting, basically it'll be like whether parsarg should go under util or parsarg should go under process. I think that's what the discussion has been, and so hopefully that'll be pretty clear in terms of like the two things to vote on.
I think there's a set option to have it on its own module.
Okay.
Yeah.
So under process, under util, under its own module, right? Not land. I don't know if anybody was arguing for that so far, but Colin, I guess if that's an option that you think we should include, we can. So I can include that.
Can you go ahead and promote Miles? He's been waiting.
Yeah. I don't know if anyone's planning to vote that way. I was just throwing it out there in case somebody thought that.
I think we should treat that as a separate issue. That's like if someone thinks it shouldn't land, then they should object to the whole thing. But the question at hand right now, in my opinion anyway, is that we should keep it very narrow, which is if this lands, should it be on util or on process? And I don't think anybody's arguing that it should be its own module or anything like that. So I think those are basically the options.
Okay, I'd agree with like those are like yeah, if we put the question to those two, it's very clear. Everybody happy with that?
Yes.
Okay, we can move on to the
Hey,
next.
before we move on to the next topic, we did skip announcements this time, and Matteo did have something he wanted to make sure got in the announcement. So I just want to make sure we say it, if that's okay.
Absolutely. I don't think we skipped it, but.
Oh, okay. Then I didn't notice. Unless was it announced that the NodeConf EU 2022 CFP is open. So go look for that online if you want to propose a talk for NodeConf EU this year. That's all.
Yep. Yay.
I think it got delayed just until tomorrow morning. There was one little technical glitch. I think it actually opens up tomorrow morning.
Okay.
Try it today or look for it tomorrow.
Open soon.
Can't wait.
I'm confident to write that in the minutes. It opens soon. Okay, renaming the default branch from master domain, some progress. Richard and I worked on looking at the Snap repository, and Richard, I think you had a PR. I don't know if that landed yet or not, but.
No, it hasn't landed yet. We've only just, I think we fixed, so the snaps were broken for a long time. And I've also sort of was able to work out why that was, and I believe we fixed it. There's some other problem that's cropped up, but we don't know if that's transient. Might be related to the website occasionally throwing 500 errors. But yeah, there is a PR open to do the branch rename for the snap repo.
Okay, and I think that probably, because we looked at that almost a week ago, if there's no objections, we're probably like, can we actually pull the actually do it?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Do you want to do that together? Do you want to do it on, are you happy to go ahead and do it, or?
Yeah, I'm happy to do that.
Okay. So Richard will land and rename. So, okay. So that one will be one down, which is good because we're down to a small set. So everyone is progress. And we have a meeting set to talk about the unofficial builds one on Monday. And so hopefully we'll make some progress on that one as well. Anything else you wanted to add on that one, Richard?
No, nothing more.
Okay. The next issue was doc add TSC vice chairperson. So after last week's discussion, I opened a PR to formally add that to our charter. The suggestion was, well, we don't really need to do that. Let's just vote in a vice chair, and the doc already says the chair can delegate to whoever they want, so they can delegate to the vice chair. And I think, the idea was we can try it out without committing ourselves to anything if we do it that way. So I'm happy to do that. We have an issue for the chair election, which is, I'll just move that up a little bit higher, 1201. So if everybody's agreed, when we kick that off, we'll just kick off, we'll basically, I think as we said, we do that May 9th, we'll just say we're looking for people to run for the chair and the vice chair. Everybody's happy with that? Okay, so I think in that case, we probably covered the two next pieces, the next one as well, which is the issue for the chair election, which again, yeah, I'm pretty sure it was like for the timeline proposed, we'll open nominations on the 9th. No, today, 4th, yes, today. So, okay, so oh no, 9th, sorry, as I scroll through. So on 9th, we'll open the nominations and go from there. Okay, so the next one is subscribe TSC email to open SSL mailing list. This is one where I know Richard's been subscribed and he's been sort of keeping us up to date. But I'm kind of thinking it would be good for the TSC as a whole to know when there's OpenSSL updates. Okay, Richard confirmed it's only like, it's very low mailing list, and just, unless anybody objects, we'll go ahead and do it.
We can always unsubscribe later if it's a problem,
Yep.
but I would imagine it will be.
Yeah, it
Okay.
is. It is very low volume. So
Perfect. I just wanted to actually to make sure we didn't have any objections in a meeting like this. So I will say no objections. Objections in the TSC meeting today. We'll do it. Okay, that's good. The next one is the Node.js build toolchain next initiative needs a champion. I think Rich, you'd added this on.
Yeah,
No,
that
we
was Mary's thing, and nobody stepped up to do it. And I think we should remove it as a strategic initiative unless somebody wants to champion it. And it doesn't have to be a TSC member to champion. It can be anybody on build or otherwise involved in the project. But somebody's got to spend time on it, and it's not easy.
Yep. Was it did Joey volunteer to send out a tweet last time?
a tweet was sent.
Okay.
There's been quite a few people saying they would like to join, but I don't think anyone's volunteered to lead.
Okay.
So yeah, there's a whole bunch of people in the issue in one of the repos responding to a sort of call, but they're sort of responding and they would like to join, but no one's actually emerged from that to volunteer to actually lead the effort.
Okay. So, the strategic initiatives, we can always it's easy to undo. So I'm happy to volunteer to remove it, and we can just add it back if we get a champion. That makes sense to people?
Yeah, sounds good. It's done by PR, isn't it? I think the list is in the core repo.
Yeah, so I can PR in a remove.
Yeah, so it'll be visible as a pull request that people comment on.
Yep. Yeah, and if there's somebody who jumps in, they can says no, I want to be the volunteer. We can also handle it that way. Okay, that sounds like I don't hear any objections to that, so I'll just note that. That takes us to the strategic initiative section. Let me just quickly go there. Okay, where's it? Yeah, now I remember contributing. Okay, so Antoine, anything on core promises this week?
No.
Okay. Sorry, I'm just taking quick notes. And James, anything on quick HTTP 3?
Nope, no change. No update.
Okay. You don't have Joy this week. No, Michael's us. So and the last one, next 10. No updates since last week on that either. So okay, so no updates. So that takes us to the end of the agenda. Before we close out for a short private session, does anybody have anything else we should talk about?
Yes, I do.
Okay, right.
So,
sorry about that.
it's okay. I'll paste the issue link in the chat for people on the call. So I've opened an issue earlier today in the TSC repo regarding Node.js 16. So when we drafted there's a document in the TSC repo called OpenSSL strategy, where we some time ago, this was years ago, we sat down and tried to map out how we were going to handle the OpenSSL 3 transition with Node. And OpenSSL 3, the story is it kept getting pushed back and back. So versions of Node we expected to be able to release with OpenSSL 3, we were not. So initially, we were hoping to release Node 16 with OpenSSL 3, but the dates didn't line up that way. Unfortunately, this has meant that we've gone out with OpenSSL version 1.1.1 in Node 16. And the OpenSSL project is going to end support for OpenSSL 1.1.1 in September 2023, which is some 7 months earlier than Node.js 16 is planned to go end of life. So that leaves us in a sort of state for 7 months where if we do nothing, then we're potentially exposed to any vulnerabilities in the OpenSSL 1.1.1 code, which will no longer get patched in those 7 months. We could do what we did for Node.js 8. So Node.js 8 was on OpenSSL 1.0.2, and for that one, we ended the normal life cycle for Node 8 early. So instead of being in April, I've forgotten the year, but we ended it in December, the December preceding the end of life date for Node.js 8. We brought the end of life earlier. So that's the precedent we've got for ending the lifespan of a Node.js release to coincide with the OpenSSL release that's contained within it. So that's another option. The third option we've got for Node.js 16 is to do what I believe would be a very risky inversion swap from OpenSSL 1 to OpenSSL 3. We have had reports on Node.js 17 and 18 about sort of compatibility issues with add-ons that people have compiled for one version and try to get running on the other. So there's a non-zero amount of work to do that if we were to do that. And I'm still not 100% sure that we know or are aware of all the potential issues that could arise from trying to attempt to do that. So it is an option. It's just, I don't think at this point in time, I'm comfortable with recommending that as a solution for Node 16. We have a bit of time. September 2023 is, next year, not this year. But if we were to bring the end of life date forwards, I think we would want to communicate that as early as possible to give people time to plan, the sort of the maintenance of their own software stacks. I've put that issue out there. It's already got a bunch of comments, most of them in favor of ending the support early. So I guess we'll leave that open for a bit to give others a chance to chime in. I think originally we were hoping that we might be able to do an inversion switch, but that was before OpenSSL 3 was released and before we had any idea of what the sort of compatibility story is. So yeah, that's kind of where it is. If someone does want to volunteer to investigate the compatibility issues, I won't stand in your way, and I'm willing to be swayed either way. But right now, if you were to ask me what we should do, my recommendation would be to end the support early. It's a lot simpler to explain to people. So yeah, it was just really for awareness.
I think it's definitely good to get it on people's radars, give people a little bit of time to think and check with their organizations and stuff in terms of what kind of pain it might cause.
Can we add a TSC agenda label so that this comes up automatically next week if we don't come to a conclusion in the issue?
Yeah, I think I'll check afterwards.
Yep,
I think
it's on.
I did add the label. But,
Great, let's leave it. And if we don't have consensus in the issue by this time next week, we should definitely figure out how we're going to get consensus, because it's the type of decision that probably isn't hard, but we should make it early. I see Bethany is saying something. She says we should add agenda too.
Yeah, she said we should discuss it in the release agenda. And it is. It's one of those where it does kind of fall under the charter of the release working group, but I think it's important enough that it needs to be raised for awareness with as much of the project as possible.
I think it's an unfortunate situation. So good to give people some time to think and and chime in with like what the impacts are. And
So the only other thing I will mention is we are actually using the quick TLS fork of OpenSSL in Node 16, but I don't see any evidence that the support statement will be any different on that. I don't think the people maintaining the quick fork are doing anything other than adding the quick patches on top of OpenSSL.
Yeah, they've already said that they're going to follow the exact same schedule.
Okay. Yeah.
so any other comments, discussion on that? Thanks for bringing that up, because yeah, we should definitely get as broad a awareness of that and as early as possible. So,
And it is only Node 16. So Node 14 will be end of life before that date, and Node 18 is on OpenSSL 3. So it is particularly to Node 16.
And I guess just kind of like thinking out loud on this, 18 will be LTS in October of this year. So it will already have like a year of being in LTS before this happens.
It will be a month away from going into maintenance LTS.
Yeah. So one thing that I think that we should probably do as part of this, and we should reach out to the foundation, is just make sure that we put out comms about this. Like, let's make this decision now. Let's just say we're going to do it. Let's put out a blog about it. Cloud providers in particular tend to have like deprecation schedules and like release schedules based around our calendar. So be good to make sure folks are aware.
yeah, like make sure that we the no surprise is probably one of the best things we can do, even if people are like, you're cutting 7 months off the support, but
This
the
is all
sooner they
good.
know that, the better.
This is all good stuff, but I think it's better to put this stuff in the issue itself so that everybody sees it, it's not lost.
Agreed. Okay, anything more we should talk about on this one before we close out? Any other issues that we should talk about before we move to the private session? If not, thanks for everybody's time and everybody who's been on the stream.